of my tainted mind, and there's no way out. Illusions, the only way I see the light tonight. I'm calling out, not a soul can hear me. Losing my sanity. Oh, I live without twisted thoughts on my peace, just my reality. Been trying to breathe, down on my knees, it's killing me. My lungs are weak, 'cause life just ain't playing fair. Hard to believe when what you need is out of reach. My world is suffocating me. I'm standing. My world is suffocating me. I'm standing. Not a soul can hear. My world is suffocating me. I'm standing. I move in slow motion and I'm left behind. No one gets to ask if I could use a little prayer to guide me tonight. I'm calling out, not a soul can hear me. Losing my sanity. Oh, I live without twisted thoughts on my peace, just my reality. Been trying to breathe, down on my knees, it's killing me. My lungs are weak, 'cause life just ain't playing fair. Hard to believe when what you need is out of reach. My world is suffocating me. I'm standing. My world is suffocating me. I'm standing.
You just give me and I get you. Too easy to see the truth. I never want this to burn out. I never want us to burn down. I didn't lose you, you lost me. You lost me. Whoa. I didn't lose you, you lost me. You lost me. Whoa. I didn't lose you, you lost me. You lost me. Whoa. I didn't lose you, you lost me. Whoa, whoa. I didn't lose you, you lost me. Whoa. I've been driving through the clouds, waiting for the sun to come out. Just wanna see your face, wanna see your face. 'Cause it's the only thing I'm needing now. Raise your cup, but cheers into life, cheers into life. Hey, raise your cup, cheers into life, cheers into life. Whoa. all through the night. Must be something on your mind. Know that you're lonely and you've been for a while. Can see it in your eyes, can see it in your smile. I don't wanna let go, I don't wanna let go. We've been wanting more for so many years, and now it's finally here, finally here. I don't wanna hold back, I don't wanna hold back. Just hold you close and never let you go. 'Cause girl, you're beautiful, girl, you're beautiful. Girl, you're beautiful, girl, you're beautiful. There's more to say than how the story's told. Our hearts beat as one. We can't let that go to waste. All these memories can't fade away. They were made out of gold. They'll be there when we're old. I don't wanna let go, I don't wanna let go. We've been wanting more for so many years, and now it's finally here, finally here. I don't wanna hold back, I don't wanna hold back. Just hold you close and never let you go. 'Cause girl, you're beautiful, girl, you're beautiful.
I don't wanna go out on my own. Maybe we could stay and make a home. It's written on my heart and in my soul. You're the one good thing. And I don't think I've ever been so low. 'Cause losing you was worse than losing hope. And baby, I could never let you go. You're the one good thing I know. So tell me that it's all okay. Tell me we will find a better way. Just tell me that it's all okay. Just tell me that we'll find a better way. A better way, a better day. There's gotta be, it's you and me, it's everything. A better way, a better day. Just promise me we'll find a better way. Just promise me we'll find a better way. Just promise me we'll find a better way. No, I don't wanna blow up on the phone. Baby, we should never sleep alone. This isn't how we used to speak so cold. Remember when our hearts would overflow. So tell me that it's all okay. Tell me we will find a better way. Just tell me that it's all okay. Just tell me that we'll find a better way. A better way, a
assume that means we are now live as well. Thank you. All right, we probably get started then. So Chris is actually on a plane right now, so you've got us today. So I don't know, Shanti, if you want to kick it off, and
Yeah.
then we'll jump in.
Good afternoon, everyone. So Chris is en route to Puerto Rico now, so I'm not sure, maybe he will join next week from there. Benny is going to start us off with an intro, and this is actually like the second to last council meeting, I believe. So we have a lot to get through, a DD meeting, and then quite a few projects to get assigned DD for the subsequent week. So we will get started.
Brilliant. Thanks, Shanti. Yeah, no, I won't take up too much of your time, guys, because yeah, I appreciate there is a hell of a lot of things that we need to get done in this hour. But really, as always, just want to reiterate the mission. And I think the best way I like to put it is, the slogan, built by you, run by you, run by you. I think that's something that's definitely been embodied by not just people in this room, but everyone watching it in the community. And it's actually staggering to even think of the progress that has actually been achieved since this whole thing started. I remember when we had the D13 node running guide. We only had a wallet. It's actually crazy thinking how many projects are now in the ecosystem and just how smooth things are. And it's a fully fledged ecosystem with DEXs, NFT marketplaces, launch pads, multiple wallets. It's actually staggering what has been achieved in such a short space of time, really. And so, yeah, I think it's just crazy how this network, this ecosystem truly is built by you, run by you, and owned by you. And with not really much more to say on that, it's just blown my mind, to be honest. So I'm just incredibly proud of everything that everyone's done. And the council, the community, it blows me away every day, honestly. So just couldn't be happier, to be honest. But it does mean that I'd like to talk about some of the community values, as we know, geeky. And normally, obviously, we'd kind of call one person out. But I think, given this is our second last council meeting, at least for now, I'd really just like to call out all of you guys actually in the council. I think the culture that has been formed and even these values that they weren't really artificially created. They kind of just came to be just through the natural evolution of people engaging with each other and actually how people are interacting with one another. It's all down to you guys at the end of the day. That you guys, whether you know it or not, did create these values. It may have happened a few months after everything kind of kicked off, but we kind of needed to see where things were going. So I think it's just incredibly sort of awe-inspiring that just through the interactions you guys have had, sometimes just only over on text on Discord, we have had these values come into play. So obviously goodwill, integrity, collaboration, and intentionality. It's great to see, and I think these are going to be the values that bind us going forward. This is how we can be decentralized. Is you don't need to look to any one person on what to do. You just have to look inwards and sort of see what kind of character you want to be and what kind of character you want to actually output to the world. So yeah, honestly, just hats off, round of applause to all of you guys in the council. We wouldn't be here without all the work you guys have done, and I think it's going to enable the entire network and ecosystem to hit the ground running going forward. Yeah, that's all I'll say for now before I get too emotional. But before I actually hand back to Shanti, there's just a few quick sort of housekeeping things just to run through. There's just some FAQs more than anything, just some questions that have been bubbling up in the community. So one of which is node running. I think one of the big question, quite rightly, is there are points to running my node after May the 1st? The answer is yes. There will be incentives for node running. It won't be in the same style as what we've seen before, i.e. there won't be block rewards, there won't be health rewards, but we will still be tracking through the telemetry using the health scores to see who is running nodes and what they're doing. So yes, there is a point to do it. It's definitely going to be different to what we've seen over the entire incentivized testnet. But just bearing in mind, just for the voyage to mainnet, that is going to play a role in the incentives there. Other piece is the NFT bridging. Obviously, as we know, the NFT game, they're going to be coming to the conclusion well, within the next couple of weeks as well. Big question in everyone's mind is, do these NFTs actually bridge over to mainnet? The answer is yes. Ost and Mitch over at Highforge, those wonderful people, are basically going to enable it so that the projects can remint optionally if they want. So it's not a bridge in your traditional sense, but fundamentally what's going to happen is it's going to be up to the projects to decide on if they do want to relaunch their projects on mainnet. And we'll start putting the pieces together to make that happen shortly. Finally, I think there's been some people talking about a lot of the relay runners out there being lots of notifications. Yes, there's lots going on in the relay channel. That is why they are so heavily rewarded. First, running a participation node, you do need to be proactive and adjust to things. We've also had an amazing community member step up, Rob Sanders, to actually take on the stress test and start pushing things in the right direction there. So do expect to be pinged more frequently than you might have been in the past. But that's ultimately what the incentives are there for, right? And especially just given the transition into mainnet, there's going to need to be a lot of coordination there as well, and obviously just for the next phase too. So keep your ears and eyes sort of peeled, I guess. But just keep your eyes open. There's going to be lots of things happening. So if you are a relay runner, try not to get too frustrated with the notifications, and just keep up to date. That's pretty much everything. I think I'll hand back to you, Shanti, just so we can quickly rattle through everything that we want to get done.
Okay, thanks, Benny. Okay, so first, I think before we get into the one DD presentation we have, maybe we can, Wilder, if you don't mind, if we can maybe assign the next few DDs.
Definitely, there's quite a lot. Well, this week's a little bit lighter, but definitely is going to get pretty intense the following week. So the NFT games tracker by Bo, that should be, or sorry, my bad. After first evaluation, we're going to have 5 coming up, and I think we're definitely going to need to spread this respectful of governors who are currently in the development process. So I would say if you are currently not developing something, or you do see yourself having that bit of free time, please step up so you can take some of the burden off of people like Shelley, for example, who's rushing to hit multiple deadlines. So I'll throw my hat in the ring. It's been a while since I've done due diligence, and I have a lesser role in GEMS Pay, so I'll take one of these. But if we can have 4 people right now, if they want to say something in the chat, otherwise I'll hunt you down with app messages, who would like to take on any of these 5 projects. I think some of these are a lot more straightforward. For example, the retroactive funding for the Algo League spot is a lighter lift. And I think there are some heavier ones, or what we call tier 1 evaluations, which it would be nice to have someone who can put a little more time into it. For example, Highforges. So if anyone wants to throw their name in the chat.
So this is obviously contingent upon it passing the first evaluation, but in order for us to not have like a mad rush at the end, we just wanted to do it today. So
yes. Yeah, let's have the names ready. If they pass, then we'll be ready to act and get the presentations going in the next meeting. So looks like no, Highforge does not have a DD yet, and I think you'd be great for it IRL. And Rap Voy would be another one that I'd say is, I think Highforge is the hardest one. So if we can't find people for these other 3 right now in the meeting, I'll app message people who I have in mind for this.
Okay, are you looking at the streamlined via delivery, or are you looking at the second page?
I'm looking at the second page right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm on proposals and first evaluation, looking for people who can step up and take on some of these when they do pass first eval.
I just have a question. Wilder, I'm happy to do the Highforge one. I'll get with Austin. We'll figure out a time that we can review it. The other, I would do the Treehouse Toolbox, but I'm thinking since I'm judging the game that it might not be good to do the DD. So if we can find someone else, but I've already got one for next week, so I'll add the High Forge to it.
That's fair. Maybe Synapse. Would you be down to take on a due diligence? It may be your first due diligence, and we could definitely could be Treehouse, could be retroactive funding. You can perfect Synapse. You've stepped up. Thank you. And let me see. I'm just going through here and looking for names that I know aren't developing, but we got a lot of developers here. Maybe Haruf. Thank you. Nice. And let's see. TD, I know you got a crunch going on right now.
Who's
let's see.
taking which one?
Mariano might be busy as well. I know Lobo, maybe you have time as well to pick up one of these, and then that would make 5 of us, including myself.
Okay.
TD, okay. We got our crew. We'll figure out who takes what and divvy it up, but we have our volunteers.
Okay. Okay. So Wilder, I'll let you assign people because I don't know which one Haruf wants.
Yeah, I won't assign you. We'll talk about it, but we'll have a conversation. I'll get back to Shanti with everybody assigned to a project pending passing first eval. But
Okay.
thank you everybody for
Thank
stepping
you
up.
Thanks for volunteering. Okay, so next, Shelly is going to do DD for Zarmian's NFT indexer.
Hey, good morning. So today I will be presenting the due diligence on the ARC72 NFT indexer by Zarmian, requesting 125 million VIA. So the purpose of this is just to go over the first evals and run through the summarize. We'll prepare for the second evals. So I'll make it snappy. So what is so the problem we're trying to solve is that you know, to be able to use the NFTs and in applications, it's expensive and not really scalable when you have a large number of NFTs. I think we have about, I don't know, maybe 2,000 now. Well, maybe not that many, but it's a lot of work to reconstruct, to request all the information you need in the app to be able to make the apps, you know, performant for users. And so that's one of the problems it fixes. And another one is avoiding the problem of having all of the projects develop their own indexer. So for their projects, so less sunken ships, you know, in case the project goes down. So we have that's what the problem is. That's what it solves, the problem that's being solved. And so the solution is simple, just you know, create a separate indexer for specifically for NFT data. And so one of the big benefits of using the NFT indexer is that it makes one of the specific benefits is that it makes getting the holdings of a particular account really easy. So you don't have to make 10 or, you know, hundreds of requests. You just make one and you can render, you could display the NFTs of a user on a page. And so who is, you know, is a proposer qualified? I said yes. You know, Zarmian has a track record of completing proposals, and he's active in his you know, active community member. I didn't there's also a document. I'm just going through it. might not read everything I wrote, I have prepared. Going through the feedback, I found that everyone was in support of in the first evals, everyone was in support of seeing the proposal be going through DD and going to the next step. But what I found out was that a lot of the people that voted were not like sure what the project was about, so they were like they were borderline going to abstain, or they were not, I'm not going to point any fingers, but I did go through and read everything, and I felt that not a lot of, maybe about 40% of the people that voted didn't really understand what the NFT indexer was, and so I guess my goal here would be to kind of explain what it is by what projects use it, and so if we look at the projects that use the NFT indexer, you would recognize a lot. The marketplaces, Nautilus uses it, and all the explorers. So initially there was only the NFT Navigator, which is like a front end for the indexer, but also we have the Pixel Pursuit, which uses the indexer. So it's built on top of that. The NFT Games Tracker, utilizes the indexer, and Kinesis. You've all used Kinesis, and you could see your NFTs in your wallet. You look at them every day in the morning, and then you have the toolbox. The Treehouse toolbox. I know that it has some features that involve NFTs, and that heavily utilizes the indexer API, and also the discard bots. So pretty much everything we're using right now, it is built on top of the NFT indexer. And so additional insights for from the proposer, there was a little, some of us wanted to clarify the token quantity, wanted a clarification there, and I did go back and forth with the proposer, and he said that initially he just thought about the lower bound of the bounty, but considered maintenance and extra things, and added another 25 million. And then I did go over how easy it would be for someone just to spin up their own indexer, like similar to running a node. There are a few commands you would have to run, but I think that in my opinion, I think that anyone that has been able to run a node should be able to run the NFT indexer. And then let's see, going over the sustainability and profitability, I didn't think it was applicable. We're pushing the NFT indexer as a public service, but did talk some specifics about the how sustainable running the NFT indexer is. It cost him about $15 a month. That's good, and hopefully $15 a month is worth more than, costs less than 125 million BIA over time. So we'll see. Let's see. How's it being marketed? I didn't think this is applicable, but if we had to, we would market it as a public good service. That's I think that's the general consensus. let's see, we have okay, so let's see. Yep, so we have okay, so Mariana, he thought it would be, you know, a little bit more expensive. Yeah, let me just let me finish. Stop me. I'm going to continue, but stop me if there's something really important to stop me on. Um, Outcomes, well, just moving forward, the outcomes is you know, despite a lot, not a lot of people really, I guess, not feeling comfortable with you know, voting on the NFT indexer in the first eval, you know, maybe saying it's too technical or they don't know what it is. You know, I think that the indexer's you know, been a backbone since, you know, since since the start of this year. Um, Me personally, I was yeah, I was building without it for a little while, and you know, it really made things easier to build. Made it a lot easier to build the Nautilus. Not and also like
Just to interrupt you ever so briefly,
yes.
I was just curious, just because of the amount of things we do have to do. What would just be your summary or your conclusion there? Like, how much value do you think is added, and what would you say? How would you vote on it?
Oh, okay. My recommendation.
Yeah, well, how much value do you think is contributed to the testnet to date? Obviously, Nautilus has used it. I know others have used it. Do you just have to hand very briefly that information, just to give people a bit of a summary, and then obviously
Um,
they can read the full DD document?
yeah, definitely. You know, I would, you know, it is, well, I don't think that we would be like in the position we are right now if we didn't have if we didn't have you know, if we didn't have the indexer available. You know, you know, it's lifted a lot of you know, well, it's helped push things forward. Um, and it also it's not just for the NFTs. You know, we might do something similar for ARC 200 tokens. So a lot of the work we did there with you know, having a service that follows identifies contracts and then starts to read their, you know, to consume the event data and then putting that into a database that's easily queryfiable. It can be used in a lot. It can be used in other situations. So I think it just for me, I think it's one of the, you know, the most valuable pieces of, you know, the projects that we have right now. I mean,
All right, so
it's a
just a summary, just sorry to interrupt. So it's obviously saved you guys a lot of time. I know it saved some other projects a lot of time. How would you endorse it, and do you think the token quantity is appropriate for the value added? And then I say,
okay. Yeah, I would you know, I would vote yes for this because it's you know, been beneficial for me and and it's a essential, you know, part of the infrastructure now.
mm,
And let's see. Um,
okay. Yeah, I think the only
oh,
sounds good.
the token quantity. I did go through and look at the I did go through and look at the token quantity, like relative to other projects, and I thought it was reasonable. You know, I mean, I mean, just looking at the 3 phases, there's about like 300 million in each phase, and then Nautilus takes a little piece, and then the indexer takes a little piece, so they all weigh about the same. Just my thought there. And
Brilliant. Well, thank you, Shelley. So I think I'm just reading your DD document. So sounds like you endorse it.
oh, I definitely endorse it. There's without a doubt, you have my endorsement.
All right, brilliant. Well, yeah, just in the interest of time, I think that's a great summary of what you've written, Shelley. So if people do have time, obviously read through the DD as well before casting your vote. But thank you very much for that, Nick.
Okay, yeah, thanks, guys. That's all for me.
Thanks, Nick. Okay, Wilder, we can move to the open floor.
Excellent. And just before, just remind people, there's a document you can read that the directors made in this meeting. This touches on what IRL brought up and Zarmian added on to around how the council is empowered to pause a process or look for further clarification before something moves to the next stage. Brief overview is a council member brings it up, state the reason for it, the directors vote on it, they either agree with it or they deny it and say why they deny it, in interest of time, for example. And at that point, it is up to the proposer and the directors to bring it back into the active status and move it forward. But once again, under the yellow highlight, you'll see strategically augmenting the proposal process. Take a read there. We did vote on it as directors, so this is something that currently is in place, but it's our first draft of it, let's say, so I expect this to change. And another thing that was discussed quite a bit in my absence was what are the responsibilities of the due diligence person? I think, as rightly brought up, you are a champion of the project. Yes, you're reviewing, yes, you're analyzing, but you need to be the champion for them as well. And it does come with quite a few responsibilities. Rach has been doing an amazing job with the token release requests. That's something that you need to be present for. She's doing @pings. Make sure you get in there. Put your signature there. Just type it out with a date, and then we can make sure things are moving through at a good pace. And this is you just as the champion, someone who knows the project intimately, saying yes, they delivered on what they were supposed to, or saying to the proposer, I don't like what I've seen here. Can you please clarify or prove that you've done this, or show me where I can find this piece? This is something that the proposer is going to initiate, and then you're going to come in and kind of verify, yes, they've done it. And the directors are making sure that we're timely to get the final piece of the token release across the line. And as Chris clarified last week to me, as long as we, the council, are able to get all of our signatures on documents, even if the core team does take past May 1st, because it's going to be a whole bunch of paperwork in front of them, even if it does go past May 1st for them to do the final sign-off, they will be able to retroactively include those token amounts into the snapshot if for some reason they're not able to get through all the paperwork at that time. So just make sure that we're doing our part, we're getting everything signed, and we're doing right by the proposers that we have approved. Also brought up, which I think is a fair point, we want to make sure that our source of truth for proposals is reflected on the Google Docs or on the spreadsheet. So there's tons of discussion that goes on in Discord, but for a new person coming into the Voy ecosystem, or for us trying to have full transparency, it's best that the comments and the feedback make their way back to a Google Doc or to the spreadsheet itself. So what this would mean is if you're doing the due diligence and answers you're getting aren't making it on there, or you're directly responding to first eval comments and they may not make it into your due diligence document, write out a sentence or two that is a direct response to the proposer on the sheet, or include step-by-step. I think IRL does a great job of this, where you can see in the Google Doc every answer to everybody's question. and that way that we know all people's concerns are addressed. And if you who asked a question haven't had it answered, ping the proposer, make sure you get an answer, and we need to find a way to make sure that that gets onto a Google Doc or a Google Sheet so that everybody can see it. I think this can be an amendment to our current council rules and guidelines. So I'll just essentially go into further detail with the directors, add some things to the current guidelines, just so it's very clear to people who may be new to the council or for a future council, the level of work that the due diligence person or the champion takes on when they step up for a project. So I think a lot of us are doing this already, but there have been some examples where it all happens on Discord and the Google Doc looks very dry. So keeping all that in mind, I think we'll be able to have a lot more clarity with these final proposals that we have going through. And yes, that's a great point, Synapse. Yeah, a promise on Discord is not what's being voted on. It's what's in the Google Doc that's being voted on. So we need to make sure what's being agreed to in Discord makes its way into the document so that we can vote on it properly. We can't vote and say, this is what they said in Discord. We're judging what's in the Google Doc. Okay, I think that covers that. Once again, we'll be talking about it again on Friday. I'll be doing the amendment to the council rules and guidelines with Andrew and Zyphoid. And I think this brings us into the open discussion. So I threw some things out there that I thought would be good topics, and it looks like we have 30 minutes, so I think we have quite a bit of time. I wanted to start with the IRL. Do you have comments on that? Or just up here for open discussion?
I have a question on this next bit with NFT games, and just to iron out what you verified for me in Discord about when they're ending and stuff like that. Yeah. Please.
Yes. So the NFT champions voted on rolling week 9 into week 8, so that it's not ending on May 3rd, which wouldn't have worked, and it's going to be ending on the Friday before, so that would be on the 26th that it will be officially ending. So what's been discussed in the governor's channel is that we're going to have the voting for the tools happening on April 25th. Everyone's agreed to that. We're just waiting on Chris to say he's available at 11 o'clock EST. I thought he'd be here, so I could put him on the spot. I'm assuming he's going to be available for that or make it a priority. So I can confirm with him as well. I won't throw my name in the ring because I recognize I have a project, so there'll be a conflict there. But worst case scenario, I think we can find a third judge if Chris is not available at that time. I really do like putting it on the 25th because it effectively gives them the most amount of time to be able to get their project ready and their presentation ready. I expect the voting process and the presentation process to take between 1 to 2 hours. So that should be in Discord. Sorry?
Is that going to be in Discord?
Based on how we did the original hackathon, I think so. I will talk to Cody if this is something that wants to be like restreamed and made an event. I do think this would be a fun thing that if it could make YouTube, it would be quality content for Voy. So that's what I'm pushing for, but I'll discuss with Cody more about the specific execution for it. Also, something that's been brought up and I wanted to clarify, with the volume trading, wash trading is present, but it is up to the creators to disqualify wash trading or people who they feel are breaking the rules. It's not the council's responsibility. It's not the core team's responsibility, and the champions are aware of that. So feel free to leave a comment in the NFT Games channel if you think there's an address that's acting shady, but it's not our responsibility to vote on that. The power is in the creator's hands.
Right. Did you say you're having projects DQ themselves?
No, they're not. So it's addresses specifically. So if you're seeing one address that you think is wash trading or you think is abusing that KPI, that new one that's all volume based on buy and sell, as a champion, you say, I think this address is wash trading, and then I will facilitate a vote where the champions can say, yes, it's cheating, or no, it's not. And if the vote goes yes, then they are blacklisted from that leaderboard.
So all the all the champions for the NFT. I'm sorry, I heard you say creators, or I heard.
I said
Okay.
creators. I meant NFT champions.
That's okay.
There's one NFT champion per project, and yes, the champions are the cops in this sense. But not the council, right? That it's the champions. They have the power. They're the ones who can call addresses out in secondary who they think are misbehaving, in the same way they can call out any other actions they feel would like to be. And Chris is here, but he's not up on stage. That's strange. Okay. And hopefully, Chris, you're available at 11 on Thursday, and we can lock that in and make an announcement.
Chris is on a plane.
Oh, okay. Well, plane Wi-Fi. I'm glad you're not up here. It'd be quite shaky at best. But does anyone have any thoughts they'd like to share on the NFT games? Kind of like a retrospective, let's say. I know a lot of us have varied feelings about how it went. It's going to be, in effect, the first game. I consider Phase 2 and Questing kind of like a second game for the testnet. So I'd like to hear people if they have general comments or thoughts that they think should be considered for maybe a future games, or what they'd like to see. I thought the NFT games did excellent for stress testing projects and really highlighting a lot of the benefits of using ARC-72 and smart standards. I thought the user experience, when implemented properly, was far superior to what I've experienced on other chains. So quite proud of what was accomplished with the games. I also recognize that there's room for improvement. It did go perfectly, but overall, I think we should be proud of what was accomplished and the amount of activity that we generated, and the communities that were fostered from it, that I expect to carry on through this next phase, help us bring more people in through that next phase, and translate into mainnet. So quite proud of everyone here and all the champions who stepped up and contributed. You can
Yeah, so I personally really liked essentially the first 2 weeks, because there was in particular a lot of engagement and people buying and trading NFTs and stuff on Twitter. And then it kind of, like I expected, it wasn't as much trading anymore, as much engagement anymore, because it's like a long time. And I also have a question, because I didn't really see it. Were people now onboarded or not? So that's kind of why I also voted no on the whole games, because I saw the plan and I was like, okay, that's not doing any onboarding. I don't like it. Has something changed, or is it still like? So I know there was the Phase 2 idea with I think projects being able to request via to onboard, but I don't know if they really did that, for example.
I talked to Chris about this. No one has requested a personal via allotment to do onboarding. Last I talked to him, the only allocation of his 20 went to the volume-based leaderboard, and unfortunately, no other project stepped up to use those onboarding funds. I was away, so I will be making one more request to get some via out. But I'm going to. I think that also is a potentially a shortcoming. I think putting the onus on the project to request the onboarding funds versus laying out a plan to get the onboarding funds and what to do with it, similar to how it happened previously using Twitter to drop, seemed to be far more successful than putting the onus on the champion.
Maybe we should learn from it. So if you, for example, then do the token challenges or something, we should really look for ways to encourage new users coming to Voi and putting a focus on this.
Yeah, that is a great opportunity to gather feedback and ultimately just do things better next time. This will have the summer games, as we're calling them, and obviously, yeah, the token wars as well. We still want to do come mainnet as well. But again, I think there was also a lot more barriers to entry just given the context of the environment that this was operating in versus, say, a fully open environment where anyone can go and acquire tokens however they please. So there were some constraints which hopefully will not be a factor going forward, but still, that doesn't mean that there's not room for improvement and there's not feedback that can be onboarded to make these even better next time. So yeah, I would definitely love to gather all that feedback, whether it's KPIs, whether it's the projects, whatever it might be, just so that we can hit the ground running next time and do things better.
I think that that sums it up quite well. And to speak to the secondary leaderboard, it has had a great effect in increasing volume, millions of volume for hundreds of thousands of rewards. So I definitely see that. I'm glad we got to try that out, and I think that's going to be definitely a component of the summer games. Potentially reworked in a way to have some more programmatic disqualification of wash trading, but overall, outsized volume for a smaller reward. People competing over just purely going for the prize, which I think is we want to create more of that activity, and we should have had, in my opinion, that should have been there probably day one. So I think that was good, and thanks for those who suggested it. I think Synapse had a quite a big role in that, pushing for industry standards, and I think that's a smart way to approach it. Okay.
Yeah, I think one thing I'll add as well is the beautiful thing as well is come next time we have these things already built, which means we can focus more energy, more resources, more time on some of these other aspects that may have been lacking.
Maybe a question. I mean, you probably can't speak about it yet, but phase 2 sounds like not a new seed and not a new testnet. It sounds like the old testnet for now. And that means that it could sound good for some, but for me it sounds like, okay, we have people out there already dominating this testnet. Good luck.
So yes, I'll touch upon it briefly. But as always, the relevant entity will release the information. This is just what they've told me in the meantime. But ultimately, yeah, it's going to be the same testnet, and it's just going to be open. The whole via void counting as points is not going to be a thing anymore. It's all going to come down to actions taken on the different projects. So it's going to be fully geared towards people actually interacting with the projects. Now that they are built, battle tested, and ready, we can actually start funneling users towards them. People are able to use open faucets to get the necessary tokens that they need. There's no need for people to be hoarding tokens or, just holding them. You could just send all of your tokens to the faucet itself if you wished. It'd have no material impact on what's going to happen in this in-between period. And it's why we're kind of calling it the voyage to mainnet, if you will. And it's really just about this next step. In our eyes, the incentivized testnet has been absolutely incredible in terms of what's been achieved. The goal from the outset was to build this really core, cohesive foundation of a community, and I think we've gone and smashed it out of the park, to be honest. And one step further, all of the different projects in the ecosystem, all of the different node runners, it's actually still insane the amount and quantity of nodes that we have. So we've achieved all of the goals that we actually set out to do and smashed them out of the park for this version of the testnet. And that's why, again, the focus going forward is to now expand outwards. We have this core foundation. We now want to grow the community and grow the ecosystem and get more exposure to other users outside of us. So that is really the main point of what's going to happen with this sort of voyage to mainnet. Is it's not locked down, fully open, tell everyone, bring everyone, anybody can participate. And it's just a great opportunity for us to scream and shout about Voy, just in the preparation for us actually launching properly, right?
That's great to hear. Yeah, thanks. There may be more of a request. Please try to not put much emphasis on node runners again, maybe. So it's not like the node runners game again, maybe.
Yeah, that would be
so try to find a balance in this case. Because it would be kind of weird to have like two phases focusing on the same people, or potentially the same people.
Yeah, no, I completely hear you, Lobo. And yeah, don't worry. while there will be an incentive for running a node, the emphasis is more going to be on things like socials, engaging with the projects. The focus is going to be fully on the projects themselves as opposed to the network. That's what it's going to come down to essentially. If I had to put it in a sentence, it's going to be socials and projects.
I think the one thing I'd add here, the giant missing piece of the puzzle for people to truly understand the difference between phase 1 and phase 2, it's our expectation early on in phase 2, if not right before phase 2, we'll have announcements from the foundation as to what the correlations are for what you did for phase 1 into mainnet, for what you do for phase 2 going into mainnet. So people can start making this economic decisions based on, is it worth my while to do A, B, C, D, E, or F that's available in phase 2? And so we're just not quite there yet. And I say that because I guess I should put out there that we do have a formed foundation now. But what that means is we have a recognition from the Cayman Islands that there's an entity called the Voy Foundation. So we have a sealed document that says it exists. There's a lot that has to go forward for that organization to analyze testnet 1, to make announcements about what goes from testnet 1 into a mainnet token. We are not permitted to discuss tokenomics until that foundation has convened and decided what they are, so then we can speak freely about them. We expect, and we're going through the process of negotiating, that the people that you know and deal with on through our organization, Shanti, Benny, Chris, and me, that we'll have a contractual relationship with the foundation. And we'll be doing a lot of the driving of the bus to make sure people are aware of what's going on, how it's functioning, etc. So it's unfortunate because the regulatory scheme is what it is, that we can't just say, okay, guys, here's what testnet phase 1 really meant for you. And phase 2 is coming out, and the goal is to go from 3,000 to 100,000. And the way we think we can do that is heavy promotion, which we are investing in that, and that'll be coming out in the very immediate term. Benny's done an amazing job sorting out those details with the organization that we're likely going to go with. So heavy promotion, investment in doing so, but then also the thing that people generally care about was, what's the actual tokenomics? When are they coming out? When can I get a hold of it? What do I have to do to be an early acquirer of those tokens, etc. So, expect, as Benny said, it to be loud and salesy, because we can now sell, in the immediate term. Weeks, not months. We expect to be able to release these kind of metrics.
Very exciting, and you kind of touched on it, going from 3,000 to 100,000. I know when I first heard that, I was thinking like on-chain users and activity, but I think a huge focus of what phase 2 will be, and the right focus, is spreading Voy awareness from 3,000 people to 100,000 people. And I think Twitter is probably one way to measure that, or maybe the easiest way we have to measure that right now. But I know as far as expectations go, Voy has done a great job of kind of, let's say, under promising and over delivering, and largely over delivering. So it's very ambitious when I hear that, to go like a 33 times in awareness, but I'm looking forward to that. And I think over a 10 times can be considered success. And I'm greatly looking forward to seeing how we can all scream and shout and make this a success.
Yeah.
I did have here in the notes about ideas to make it a larger success. I wrote down Lobo's put less emphasis on node runners. That sounds like what's happening. Another thing I think that will be greatly helpful, that us as knowledgeable testnet members can contribute to, is making ourselves available for workshops or for new users. I know our voice channels don't get a lot of activity right now, but I expect as the community grows and more and more people join Discord, Twitter Spaces probably are one of the best ways to do this. And I know I'm personally going to put a lot more effort into being publicly available and more regularly available, so I can help guide some people or share what's so great about Voy. And that includes doing cross-chain spaces. I think that's another great way. Cardano's very receptive of Voy's mission, and I expect a lot of other chains will be receptive of Voy's mission as well.
I agree.
I have one more topic
I'll
written down.
address Super Synapse's discussion over here.
I missed it.
There's just some notes about will there be a community review? The answer to that's no. So there is going to be, and the reason it's a no is because of the legal landscape. There's a token issuer that's going to exist outside the United States. That token issuer is then going to have a relationship with the Voy Foundation because the token basket that is going to, in all likelihood, be the portion that's used to incentivize the testnet in a mainnet fashion comes from the foundation. And the foundation is independently controlled and directed, and they will not just say, well, here's a number because I think it's important. They have to do a review of what the value that they attribute to the testnet environment that occurred, to do an allocation within the basket of 75% of the overall token supply to determine how it should be distributed. And what we have to offer them is analytics, the Voy and VIA points to start that analysis, but that's not the entire analysis. So when I say we're waiting on the Voy Foundation to be fully formed and functioning, it is formed now. It does have an independent director, and we are just starting the process of providing them with the information to do their analysis independent of us to say, okay, this is what we're doing. As far as general governance as to how tokens will be released from the Voy Foundation, that process is going to be lengthy, transparent, and engage with the community as well. There is going to be a proposal to the community as to how it will function, and I have every expectation that everyone who has any thought about it will have an opportunity to do so. And there should be no expectation that what we've done during testnet may be remotely similar to how things occur in mainnet. And the reason being, there is going to be various parties that will now actually exist and actually have access to tokens that have an actual value attribution. So we don't expect to just lay it on a desk and say, here you go, you're welcome. We expect there to be thoughtful input and discussion. And generally speaking, from what I've seen from early drafts from our team, I think the community will be frankly bowled over with how it's orchestrated to have true community input and thought when it comes to the distribution of the tokens with a counterparty that exists as of 2 days ago. So it's, we're starting.
Awesome. I'll move it on to the final topic that I had picked, and I'm sorry I've used up so much open discussion, but for those who don't know, Jay has been working in the background. We've had a couple emails shared, and he's working on a very vital piece that I thought was going to be completed in phase 1 of testnet, but I don't think it's realistic with that deadline for him to complete this piece. But that's smart contract staking. It was kind of the only missing piece that we had. And first of all, I'd just like to recognize Jay for his contribution to testnet. For those who don't know, he's working on a extremely mission critical piece of it. And I had 2 ideas. I think my first one's weaker. I think Jay's probably going to want to go with the second. But one idea I had was Jay can share what he has, and he can receive some form of proactive payment per se, or something expedited by the directors, so he can receive some testnet tokens for his work. And alternatively, he can apply for mainnet funding for retroactive funding. But I just recognize that he's been putting time in, putting work in, hasn't really been recognized for his efforts. And I'd like to say thank you for what you're doing. It's super important to the mission that we have something like this available on mainnet, and thank you for what you've done. If you want to step up and share, if you care about getting the testnet tokens, or you'd rather go for mainnet funding, I think no matter what path you choose, you're definitely going to be recognized for your contributions. And thank you once again. He does not want to be paid early. Honorable. Okay, open discussion. Please, anybody take the mic and let us know. Oh, Jay.
Can you hear me? Yeah,
we can hear you.
Okay, good. Okay, so so I personally don't want to get paid early because I don't like the idea of getting paid for things that aren't done. That said, maybe there are some things that are done that are useful, but it doesn't bother me. The bigger problem, well, and then I see on the comments, there's this idea that like, hey, we don't want to have anything paid for retroactive work. I understand that, and my perspective there is that the foundation can do whatever it wants, and if the foundation thinks that it's valuable to have this thing, then they can decide to pay for it if they want to. And my only thing that I would say to push one way or the other is that it's not really just me working on it. I'm working on the specification and I'm working on it with Shelly. And my opinion is that maybe Shelly would like to get paid early for his contribution of it. And if he wants to do that, I support him. But I personally do not want to get paid early.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I didn't know Shelly was there, but I should have assumed. Shelly seems to have a hand in almost all of the Voy innovations. So I think Shelly's had more than enough shout outs, but kudos to you for helping there as well. But I know you got to focus on Humble right now, so I'm rooting for you. And I think Headline might be in a similar situation there. I had a nice conversation with them today, but I think they're also working in a way where they're going to deliver something great and then see where the cards lay come mainnet. So hats off to them as well, and very glad to see that they weren't discouraged from their first process, and they're going to be contributing in a largely valuable way for phase 2. So shout out to Aaron and his team, Aaron and Brian.
I am in support of a retroactive grade come mainnet. It sounds like there's a lot of support for that. I don't see it being a problem. I did want to see if there's like an ETA though, because in your notes it said this is the one missing piece. So I would be remiss if I did not ask when or how's it going at least.
Looks like he's added some written stuff to the bounty, so I'll go and check that out. But if either of you want to share, or if anyone has an open discussion topic, shoot.
Here, I got something just out of curiosity. So with like the new, I guess, foundation entity, I know obviously you guys brought on like one of those probably paid directors just out, like you said, in the Caymans. Is there any plans or like what will the management look like of the foundation moving forward? Do you plan just to have like it very small with like the director and maybe, another supporting person, or is it going to be kind of expanded out, again, just using Algorand Foundation as a easy example where, obviously they have a much larger team. What's the plans around that?
So right now, to get it operational and compliant, there's a single independent director, and they're a fiduciary for numerous projects that are household names in the crypto space. They came highly recommended. We interviewed a handful of options, and we went with them based on strong recommendations and frankly just feel after talking to them. It's a organization called Leeward. They do fiduciary services as their stock and trade, and the way that we are structured, it is completely totally independent from the core founders of the Void network on our side. So we have an organization called the Block Authority, which is a corporation in Delaware that is owned and controlled by Chris, me, Benny, and Shanti. And then there's the Void Foundation, is a separate Cayman entity. There'll be a few more entities that we're going through the full process to ultimately do the token issuance. And from a management standpoint, Algorand Foundation is a good example. All these blockchains generally have a for-profit technology company and a supporting organization foundation. Similar concept. But it's not going to be identical to the way Algorand Foundation does it. We have a very different vision that again we have to consult the independent director and go through what we think makes sense from a management standpoint of the Void Foundation. It's very different than some of these other organizations because we've inverted the purpose. So we're, 3/4 are for ecosystem development, growth, community oriented tokens in the foundation. Other side on ours is the inverse of that. 1/4 is for what you would know as the Algorand technology side of it is our block authority side of it. That's 1/4 of it. So it's very much inverted from the way things are done. And because of that, we think things can be done very differently because the community has such a vested interest in the 20-year release of that side of things. So to answer your question, I can't tell you right now how it'll exactly play out, but we envision a much smaller organization on the foundation side than what you've probably seen in other blockchain creations. Smaller because there's going to be a balancing approach between community input and ultimate authority and decision making, because we can't escape, unfortunately, the regulatory requirement that the independent organization should be the ultimate decision maker on the releases to keep everybody out of being designated a token issuer, so to speak. But we don't think that takes a lot of people to be the ultimate decision maker. They just have to be provided with the information. So I touched on it a little earlier. That governance process needs to be vetted out. We, the block authority, would expect to have a contractual relationship with the foundation, and part of that contract is developing things like, we think this is what is appropriate to present as a governance protocol to the community for input, review, approval, and then ultimate stamp by the ultimate decision maker, the foundation. So there is going to be a handful of people that look at and feel like they are working for the foundation, because they are, but it's through contractual relationships with our side of it where we're doing the running of it. So eventually it's our expectation to decouple from it completely, but that's going to take a lot of time. And so it's an out of essentially necessity to make sure that it's doing the things that it's doing. But our testnet phase 1, in my opinion, has created the bedrock of that community that we can now have as that counterparty. And of course, new people will come in every day that become very interested and care about it and enthusiastic. I wasn't the first person on Algorand, for example, and I became very enthusiastic about it, a year and a half into after it was already on mainnet. So my long-winded answer to your question, it's going to look, act, and feel different from what you've seen with like an Algorand Foundation or the other supporting organizations that are out there for other blockchains. But at its center, it still will have that authority, that decision making, but it's done through a different process. It will have, I would expect, for example, our community managers are going to be directly on behalf of the foundation, but managed through our company and then contracted out to them, leased employees, just to give an example. So when we have community managers, which I'm hoping to add another one in the next day or so, when we have mainnet, when we have all these formed and functions, they'll be managing the community from the foundation side of things, but their payroll will be done through our company, as an example. Does that answer your question, Andrew?
It does. Thanks, Bill.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to us being able to share a lot more on that stuff, actually, and stuff that we've been planning for, well, since the beginning, to be honest. So it's a lot of work's gone into it.
Okay, I think that's our time. Thank you everybody for your comments and all your efforts. It was great to watch the last 3 weeks that I missed, and shout out to Andrew and Zyphoid for doing a bang up job while I was gone. So have a great week, everybody. Thank you for those who are doing DD. I'll message you to get that organized, and have a great rest of your week.
Yep.
Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.